ready for takeoff.
He's Metz. He's Tass. It's the Metzger Tassoul Show.
Hello, Mr. Shane.
How we doing?
Hey, man. I'm doing great now.
Are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. You just got the final confirmation. Is that what you're reading?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Okay.
I was catching up on text messages.
Oh, all right. Must not have got to mine yet then. That's cool. I'll wait.
Yeah, no. I did actually get to yours.
Just swiped it right past.
That's right.
All right.
All right. So we're live. We're good. We're going to talk about the one thing you must do to have a record 2025. And let's wait on that for a second because I know there's still hundreds of people pouring in.
They're from all over the world.
Why do I look like a centerfold here?
Whoa.
My back? Does my back look jacked to you?
Who's this?
No, you look like you're, I mean, it's straight for you.
All right. How's this?
Why are you so injury prone?
Okay. I don't need the stone throwing today.
It was a question. I was just asking.
You know, in jiu-jitsu, they refer to me as Mr. Glass. They don't. Jason does. But
That's right. That's right.
you tap the guy out one time and he starts doing the name calling.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? Just because I wore a shirt into his school that says I tapped your instructor out, he gets upset.
Yeah. It's these people that don't have a sense of humor. Right?
Why am I injury prone? It's called being 50 years old and still thinking I'm 20.
Right. Right.
And,
I get it.
you know,
I
and
get
my
it.
back not knowing that I'm, 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And these videos, these B lives are not always fun to do either because then you start to realize how old you're getting. The
Here,
bags
you
of your
put the
eyes.
filter on? Yeah.
You put the filter on?
Yeah, I have a filter.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um,
you should get a different one.
Thank you. There it is. Thank you, Tess.
Hey, I was just picking on myself for Anyway, how we doing?
Hey, man, when we first started this show, I didn't have this jewelry.
You sure didn't. No, and I'm just stubborn, and mine are hidden somewhere. I just refuse to wear them. So,
Well, listen, last show of the year. Show of the year. And I'm just seeing, do we have comments here? Oh, we do.
yeah. And by the way, as you guys jump on, right? I'm just curious: is everybody feeling really good, or are you feeling overwhelmed? Right? I'd be curious to know that.
I'm feeling overwhelmed. Are we sharing everywhere?
Oh. Okay. We'll wait.
Tess, every time you start talking, numbers start dropping. What is there a correlation with that, or?
Yeah, they're texting me right now.
I got you.
Yeah.
They're asking questions.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, yeah, listen. Yeah, that's a good question. Do people feel overwhelmed towards the end of the year? Here's what I used to feel a lot when I was, in the school, teaching every class, every day, right? You gear up and you try to do well and have a great year. But I know that I always kind of got depressed at the end of the year because I felt that no matter how we did this year, you wipe the slate clean and you start over and you just do it again, right? And when you do that year after year after year, for me, it starts to create burnout. Now, one thing you can do to avoid that, and this is not the one thing you must do to have a great 2025, but one thing you should do is, if you're in the martial arts industry and you understand that you're running a business, think about how you can scale and motivate yourself on how you're going to take things to the next level, or take a big step towards the next level of scaling your business. And that got me excited when I started shifting my thinking, as opposed to, and this is just me, as opposed to when I had one location and I wasn't thinking that way. And next year I was thinking, how do I make this one location better? And then the next year, how do I make this one location better? And then the next year, how do I make this one location better? Like, I felt like there's a ceiling. I felt there was a ceiling. So I didn't like it until I shifted my thinking and thought, why can't I take a school from 300,000 to 500,000 to 800,000 to $1 million, to a martial arts company to 2 million to 3 million to 4 million to 5 million to 10 million? That's exciting. There's no burnout when you're still like just striving for stuff. So that's something that helped me out. But maybe people are just motivated, happy, and they just are like, I hope we had a record year. I hope we can do it again next year. For some people, that's okay. It didn't excite me just doing it over and over and over.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I just talked with a buddy of mine, and he was just echoing the very, very similar sentiment, which is, I just don't have motivation right now. I just can't get motivated. And if I do, it lasts like an hour. And then, and you get to certain places in your business, right? And there's a big lesson in here too, right? But we get to certain places in our business where we may feel comfortable, right? Where money's okay and we're doing good. The students are great. We get to those points. And then you kind of live at that point, right? And you really don't maybe want to work harder to get to the next level, but you also don't want to fall. And so you kind of just stay in the zone, and that can get boring after a while. And that's where you start laying out, some of the things like, well, what is it? Because a lot of people, are looking at their school and they're saying, okay, well, what can we do to be better? And maybe that's, they're going to sit down and do a redesign of their curriculum. Maybe their curriculum has been great for them and they're going to keep doing their curriculum the same way they've been doing it. But they're like, we're going to do a little bit more on the marketing. They're picking one little thing that they're going to do. But I know for me, my mindset is I like to create, right? Like that's what's fun for me. And I like to always be building, right? Whatever that looks like, right? Whether that's building a team, it's building stuff on the backside, it's doing stuff in the CRM. Like I enjoy that part of what I do, because I feel like it's pushing us, it's getting us to the next level, which is where we need to be. But just like a lot of you may feel that burnout or overwhelm at the end of the year, right? For those of you that do have staff or volunteers or anybody, it'd be a really great time to kind of just take temperature and find out how they're doing and get a good read, right? That's an in-person thing, by the way. That's not a text. It's not a phone call. That's an in-person. See their face, read their expression, read their body language, because a lot of times they're just good soldiers, right? They're like, oh, great, sir. But you can tell, and you kind of have if they have the demeanor, if things aren't, where they should be. Because if you're a single school owner and you have a team and everybody has kind of their place, well, how long are they comfortable in that place, right? Is it a year? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 years? Is it 16 years? Well, the reality is we just don't know. And if we're not as owners casting the vision constantly, right? And by the way, doesn't necessarily mean that if I'm a single school owner operator and that I just want to have one location, right? And I can't cast the vision of having multiple schools. Well, you can, right? But maybe you're not believing it yet. But there's other visions that you can cast within your organization in a single school to get people motivated. Whether that's hiring on an assistant to give your chief instructor a little bit more free time and flexibility, whatever those things are, there's always a way to get people motivated. But if you're not constantly looking at not only how you can motivate yourself, but how you can motivate your team and your staff and provide something or a direction so that when they get there, they feel good about it and give them something to aim for, a target, right? It can get overwhelming and stressful and also boring all at the same time.
I have a question for everybody watching. How many of you on here would like to have your martial arts business doing more than $5 million a year? Is that a goal, yes or no? So you could put it in the chat box. Would you want to see your school doing over $5 million? And I picked a random number, just a number that I'm thinking the majority of people are not doing. But would you like to see your school doing over $5 million a year? And then some people say, well, in what time frame? In whatever time frame. Would you like to see your
don't overthink it, right?
Just over $5 million a year in your business. So Tass, I don't know if you see the comments. I'm looking here because I got to see it on my phone. So two people, Mr. Frank, Jason, Marty. Frank says yes. Jason says yes. Marty says not really. Mr. Lockett, absolutely. Rob, yes. And there's people watching that aren't putting a yes or a no. But where I'm going with this, so for example, well, here we go. Yes, of course, we'd like our school to do more than $5 million a year. Miss Julie said that. And Mr. Marty Noel, as you're not alone. There's people that would say no or not really. And my question would be, well, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Mr. Alvarez is saying not yet, but eventually. And my question is well, and it's not a challenging question, but it's, well, why not? Like so what if I said 3 million? What if I said 1 million? Well, what is the number that you'd like to see your business be doing? And then whatever, even the people that said yes, well, where's the number where you would say, that's it, that's enough? And my question would be, well, why would you want to just stop at whatever number for your martial arts business? And I'd be curious to see why we wouldn't want to continue to grow our business. Whatever the number is, why wouldn't we want to grow every year? Is my question. I can't think of an answer on why we wouldn't. I think the thought process might be, well, we would eventually lose quality. Well, that's about managing and training and setting expectations. Or because we would, if you're making that much money, you're nickel and, I mean, I don't even know, like you'd be nickel and, well, no, I think there's plenty of businesses that provide tremendous value that make billions of dollars that aren't nickel and diming, right? They've just learned how to scale. Or because we really don't believe we can even do that effectively, because we really don't believe we can do that effectively by keeping true to our art. But is that a justification, or is that really, I don't want to do this much, I don't want to keep growing? Because if somebody says I don't want to continue to grow, I would just want to have an interview with that person or have a discussion and understand the psychology behind that. I would love to know that, right?
Yeah. We've had similar conversations before, and I know you picked a random number, and for most people, right, watching this, 5 million is so far off the radar that it's not even fathomable, right? And for some of you that may be watching or may watch this later, for some of you going from 5,000 a month in gross to 50,000 a month is unfathomable, right? Until you do it, and you're like, dang, I did it. And it's interesting. I remember the first month that we broke $100,000 as an example. And I remember talking to the team. I said, was it any different of a month? And the response was, well, no, it was actually more fun, and things went by a lot faster, right? So it's way more fun to be successful than it is to be unsuccessful, I believe, right? Which I know seems obvious, right? But it can be, to be at that level and do those types of things is a good time. So for you, and by the way, let's just call it what it is. I don't think anyone on here is going to get you're not going to get a single location to $5 million a year, just to be clear. But that's not what he said. Mr. Metzger said, you're a martial art business, right? Which could encompass a lot of different things and different facets, whether that's multiple locations or whatever that may be, right? So yeah, I'm with you, man. And the likes of it is walking into the $2 million parade home and say, dude, would you want a house like this? And the answer is no. It's just, I've said this before. It's too big. It's just too big, and I wouldn't want to clean it. And I want, like, okay, just peel all that stuff away. And sometimes we literally have to step back and look and watch and listen to ourselves from a 20,000-foot view. And what are we really saying, right? Like, are you watching and listening to yourself and what you're saying? Because oftentimes, as much as we can try and justify it, it potentially can become an excuse. And for some of you, you might say, no, look, I had a great this, I had this, I'm good, I'm set, right? And that's cool too, right? There is no right or wrong answer.
There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. However, a couple things. Everybody watching, we are going to talk about the one thing that you must do to have a record 2025 for yourself. We will talk about that. But Mr. Marty responded, and I want to say to Mr. Noel, I really appreciate you speaking for a lot of people in this industry, because it's not wrong, and it's where I was, and it's where a lot of people are. But the comment was, why not grow? ? Too many employee hassles, would need to have multiple locations, and quality of life issues. I would be very happy with 1 million in one location. Okay. And so here's the thing though. I want to just give a little context. And another person saying, who wouldn't? I think everyone wants to grow, but growth is scary for a lot of people. Mr. Latterman, or if I'm saying that right, you are correct. And Mr. Noel, I think that's fear, right? Fear of it would be too many hassles, quality of life. I'm afraid to want to grow that big or grow because I don't want to jeopardize my quality of life. I don't want to have employee hassles, right? That's the fear that we would have, because you hear so many people have those issues. Here's where we're good. I mean, here's the deal. So for those of you watching, because there's a lot of new people on here or comments, when I started my schools, when I started my karate business, I was 17, just turning 18 years old. And I was teaching out of elementary school cafeterias, and teaching kids and renting out a cafeteria at night, right? I charged $4 a class, pay as you go, $4 a class. When it grew, parents really wanted to keep their kids training with me. So my mom and dad said, we'll help you open your first school if you want to open a school in a shopping center. And I opened up my first school that was 989 square feet. That's the total school, not the mat space. That's the lobby, the bathroom, the mat. 989 square feet, $4 a class, pay as you go. Tass, I've showed the ad, one of my first ads many times. Uniforms were optional. Now that breaks culture, tradition, but I wanted to teach martial arts for anybody, even if they couldn't afford it. So if you couldn't afford right now to buy a uniform and you had sweatpants and a t-shirt right now, I allowed that because I wanted you to be able to train in martial arts, right? But then I realized, man, after doing that for a while, living at home with my parents, there's no way I'd be able to move out and support myself doing this. So I have to figure something out. So then I said, if you pay for 12 classes up front, right?
Oh, you're doing paid in fulls.
Yeah, I pay in full. You could pay in full and get I think it was $40 for 12 classes or something. So you're saving $8 or whatever the deal was, right? And that really wasn't working well. And I said, you know what? $50 a month, train unlimited. $50 a month, just so I know that I have $50 a month coming in, as opposed to, and this is real, when class would line up, I would, in my mind, I'd count how many people are on the floor. Okay, there's 5 people on the floor making $20 this class, right? Well, then it was $50 a month, unlimited, right? What was my mother who said to me when I was 21, now remember, I started this right when I was turning 18. At 21, so 19, 20, 21, she sat me down. She said, you're still living at home. Do you want a hobby or do you want to run a business? What are you going to do, right? said, well, I want to run a business. She said, get your ass to these seminars and start learning how to run a business. There's a martial arts convention coming to Orlando. Go to it, right? And I said, like all of us say, what are they going to teach me? Why did I say that? I had ego like all of us. We had a competition team that was ranked in NASCA and ISKA, you know, world ranked, world-class competitors. We had high-level martial artists. I thought, what are they going to teach me? I said that to my mom, and my mom said, I don't know, but get your ass there and find out. My mom was very businesslike. I said, okay, I'll go. Well, when I went there and there were trainings there, by the way, that's the first time I met Dave Kovar. I think we can all agree Dave Kovar is a high-level martial artist. I met so many people there, and they were generating really high revenues in a business. They were very successful in business, but they were also very high level in martial arts. And Ernie Reyes Sr. was there. He had his demo team there. And I was like, I didn't know you can make this kind of money in martial arts. How do you do it? So I started going and visiting schools and asking if I can come visit and see what they're doing. Well, fast forward 32 years later, right? We are doing well over $5 million a year, as I use that number as an example. I just had a breakfast meeting this morning with Michael Perry and Nick Peterman. Nick Peterman being our vice president of business operations, who's been with me for 30 years, started with me when he just turned 14 years old, and is going to be 46 in January, I think, 46. I asked him, how many employees do we have in the schools that we have? 70 in the schools, not including our corporate offices and everything else, but 70. The reason I gave all that history, I had more stress and more hassles when I was running one location. I had more stress and more hassles when I had two locations. I had more stress and more hassles and no work-life balance when I had three locations. But when it started scaling, I managed to be able to develop executive level positions. I don't even know the 70. Now, some of you may say, that's just ridiculous. I have my pulse on everything that's going on in my schools. And I meet with my directors and Mr. Peterman every single week in a breakfast meeting this morning, right? And there's a certain standard that we need to have. I'm at all the black belt testings, right? But to believe that if I scale my business, I'm going to have more headaches and more issues, it's not a reality when you know how to do it. And I don't think anyone watching this on here could have more flexibility or work-life balance than me. You might have the same amount, but I don't think you'd have more, because like Mr. Peterman even said, who's been with me 30 years, Michael Perry, who's there, has been with us 25 years. They asked me a few months back, what's your exit plan? What's your retire? Like, when are you going to retire? I said, why would I retire? I love working with you guys. I love what we do for the communities. I love building up martial artists, right? And I can come and go as much as I want. I do cruises every 3 weeks. I go on a cruise. I'm leaving, again. I mean, I'm always on vacation. And I love what we do. And I love providing an unbelievable career opportunity for all of you with no ceiling for everybody in this company. That's my drive, providing for all of these black belts, all these martial artists, these students that have come up, to provide them real careers in the martial arts industry. But everyone has their responsibilities. I don't hire the people. I don't train the instructors now. I train the upper level guys, right? It's just a different evolution. But I started this when I was 18. I'm 50, right? So it's a different level. Saying that because I know what people are thinking. I also train every single day. Train this morning. I train every day, right? So I'm still a martial artist at heart, and that's why I'm still here, because I love the martial arts. Now, on the other note of scaling the business, we provide scholarships. To this day, if somebody comes in and their child or they want to do martial arts and they cannot afford it, that is not a reason why you can't train with us. We won't turn you away, or if a student that we've had loses their job, family gets divorced, and they can't do it anymore, we're not kicking you out of this school. We provide scholarships for people, right? Which before, when I was struggling, I may not have been able to do that because I couldn't afford to do that, especially in 989 square feet when I only have a limited number of spots on a mat, right? So you got to get through all the fears and understand. And that's the thing. It's fear, and it's not understanding that it is possible. And it's setting limitations on ourselves to scale our business, right? Because I would say to Mr. Noel and everybody else, when you have a school, let's say you're doing $1 million a year, $1 million a year, $1 million a year, $1 million a year. Believe me, that $1 million a year, you're going to get like, okay, we've done this for 5 years in a row. Let's try to do $1 million. I mean, I would think, because if you're just trying to stay at $1 million a year, $1 million a million, if that's it, you're going to start to go down eventually. Like, you can't have that ceiling. And if you're producing great martial artists and people that want a career in martial arts that want to be with you, then you're forced to scale or say goodbye to them and have them go open their own school. You have to, one of the two is going to happen, right? I'd like to provide the opportunities and have my people stay with me because I love my team. I love my people. So I just wanted to say that as a different approach or a different way of looking at it, and to inspire some of you to know that it is possible, but you don't know how it's possible. It's not what you know, it's what you don't know that holds us back in anything, right? And so if I can come from $4 a class sweeping peas and carrots and corn off a cafeteria floor in elementary school to doing what we're doing today with, 9 locations in Central Florida and 151, I'm looking at the board, across the United States and Canada, you can do it. It's just a mindset of how can we just continue to grow and scale and impact more lives and more communities. Go ahead, Tess.
That was a good show.
Thank you for coming, guys. Have a great New Year and holidays.
Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we got the life story of Mike Metzger and where he started his business. But to your point, you're spot on, man. And it's just you got to. There are people that are hungry in this industry, and a lot of them are just starting schools, right? And then there's people that have been doing the same thing for years, and I had again same conversation I just had earlier today with a buddy, and it's like, man, he goes, I've been doing this for 30. He goes, he'd been doing martial arts for 42 years. Is out of school for 25 years, and he's like, think about if you're on an assembly line for 25 years. At some point, you're just gonna get burnt out and bored. He's like, and so there's no. He goes, so I understand the feeling of being burnt out, but at the same time, wouldn't you rather be in this industry and do something that you love? And by the way, have the ability to generate revenue really at will, right? And I say that when you can provide value, right? It's just interesting to me. I've just been really diving in a lot lately, and whether it's a service that we offer, the special that we do for the new year for clients to take advantage of a savings on all the different activities that we do, to watch that happen from creation to implementation, and literally watch the sales come through in like 15, 20 minutes and be like, in 4 days, where else could I have generated? And I'm just giving this as an example, right? But where else could I have generated $10,000 in 4 days? And I did it because of a crowd of people, right? Our students that know us, like us, trust us. We have a great service. We provided them with an unbelievable opportunity if they want to take advantage of it. We're not bamboozling or hoodwinking anybody. If they see the value, they're going to do it. And for them just to do it and then watch and sit back and watch, be like, oh my God, look at what we just created and look at what the results are, right? And I have to be mindful around family sometimes because not everybody in our family is an entrepreneur. And so sometimes it's not fair statements when I say things, because in order for someone that's working, right, to make more money, they either A, need to get a second job or a third job. They need to make more money at the job that they're at and get a raise of some sort, right? Or they need to work overtime, right? And so, and yes, putting in value wherever you work is going to help you climb that ladder, right? But there too, there's a ceiling, but I feel like that ceiling is much smaller in most cases, right? That ceiling is a lot shorter. And so it's just this unbelievable opportunity to be an entrepreneur and be able to think about how can we provide more service, more value in what we do and offer things, and then go and execute, and then see people take advantage of that and actually generate revenue from that. Now, in saying that, there's been 100 horrible ideas that we've also tried, right, over the course of the last 30 years, which is what we learned from, and where we've tried to do something that just didn't work. And so, and then for some of you, this may resonate, right, where it's feast or famine, right? Like, wow, it was a great month, or it was a great 2 months, or whatever it may be. And then for some, you have the famine portion, right, where like you're struggling and it's so hard. And so there's pros and cons of everything, right? When you have a job, when you work at a company or for somebody, right, it's pretty, people say, well, the pay is consistent. Okay, it is, right? It potentially is consistent until something happens, until someone from the top comes down, they're laying people off or whatever it may be. So I'm not as big of a fan of that, and saying, well, I'm fine because I get paid every week regardless, because you just never know when that can change, number one. But this is just, I think we all got in this industry not because we love the business aspect, but because we're passionate about martial arts. And if we're passionate about martial arts and we can turn that into, I think it was John Graydon actually years ago, right, that talked about you're following your passion or your pension, right? And the idea was we all follow our passion, right? And we didn't do this for our pension, but you can have your cake and eat it too. You can do both, and you can provide great service, and you can impact and change the lives of the families in your community. And that's what I love about it. There's times where I've not really focused on the martial arts school, and there's times where I really dive in, and there's everything in between. And there's always a drawback because of the fun and the excitement and doing all the different things, right? And that's what I enjoy about it, is it's always changing, right? There's always new things that we can do. There's new things that we can implement. There's better ways of doing it. As martial artists, I think a lot of us are technicians, and we want to continue to get better and better and better. And so, yes, there's 12 months in a year, and pretty much everything is always the same for that 12 months, but we evolve it every year, which keeps us moving up and up and up and ramping up. And that's what makes it fun. But you're not going to get to a certain point unless you've got, an idea of where you want to go and what that vision really is, right? Otherwise, we end up at the end of the year, we end up either happy or we end up not so happy, but it's usually by surprise. Oh, wow. If it's a surprise that it's a record year, whether that's a record high or a record low, that shouldn't be happening to you, right? You should know what your numbers are, right? And what you're doing, because it's a measuring stick. That's all it is. It's a measuring stick for you to know, hey, am I doing as good as it was last year? Am I doing better? Am I doing worse? Where am I at? And then it's up to you to determine whether or not you want to make the decision to do better or worse,
but
based off of that measuring stick. Right?
Here's the most frustrating thing. You'll do better this year. Next year, no. Right. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. I mean, and it creates burnout. Mr. Alvarez, you said, you've always wondered if I still went to black belt testings. I'm going to put this in context. As you were talking, Shane, and as I'm reading some comments, right? And we think about, the money. I was just having a conversation because we just had a big meeting. I met with our payroll company, right? About health insurance, right? And how expensive. All of you that are martial arts school owners, do you have good health insurance for yourself? Now, there's some of you watching that I bet you aren't even paying for it, right? I just know there's not, right? Because if you have a family, you could be at $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 a month just for health insurance. When we scale and we want to impact lives, well, I just had a meeting about all this stuff. We as a company are contributing almost $250,000 a year to cover our people for health insurance, right? As far as our portion that we give. So our employees have to just pay a little bit each paycheck for health insurance because we want to create these real careers. Now, how does that relate to Mr. Alvarez as far as black belt testing? Well, guys, here's the reality. And I'm trying to just get you a picture and inspire you. Some of you aren't even grossing $250,000 a year. That's just our portion of what we're giving away to give health insurance to our people, right? We make a lot of money in the martial arts business, but we really impact lives. Quality is a big deal. Not only do I go to black belt testings, we were at a black belt testing with 100 students there. Now, keep in mind, 100 students over multiple locations and only doing 2 a year. It takes an average, if you're consistent, 4 years, 4.5 years in our system to get a black belt if you're consistent, right? But we bring them all together twice a year in a gymnasium. So picture this. You got 100, let's just say 100 people testing for black belt. You got people up in the bleachers, right? Because we're at a gymnasium. And this is years ago. This is probably going back 10 years. I was so upset about the quality that I was seeing because I believe we hold ourselves to a higher quality standard. I stopped the test midway, called every instructor into a huddle, and I said, I don't care if your school's doing $1 million a month. Don't ever have students show up that are like this, as far as some of the students, right? Not all 100, but I said, we have students that should not be here testing for black belt. I don't ever want to see students here testing for black belt, whether you're doing $1 million a month in your school or not. I'll shut the school down. We got to do better. We got to do better. I say that to make sure I emphasize to all of the purists out there, you could have your cake and eat it too, as Tassoul said. I do not want to sacrifice quality for success in business or money, but I do want both. I do want both. If you look behind me, right there, right? The mission statement up there, right? One of the things that it says is contribute regularly and positively to our communities, right? Apply the highest standards of teaching, training, and safety to help all students reach their personal goals. But the last bullet point on there is recognize that profitability is essential for our future success.
Oh, you're muted.
Our team's got to realize that profitability is essential to our future success. Along with training, did you hear me say about apply the highest standards of teaching and training? Yeah, that's on there too. But without profitability, I can't provide $250,000, or Mr. Silverman and I, we're partners in it, can't provide $250,000 a year to contribute to your health insurance as a martial arts professional. I can't do that if we don't ensure that profitability is essential to our future success. I can't pay people well into the 6 figures to have a martial arts career if we don't understand profitability. But by the way, I can't pay you 6 figures and pay insurance if I only stayed with one location. Because if I tried to do that with one location, number one, I can only do that for maybe a couple people. And maybe I'd have to really overcharge people at a one location in order to do that.
Right.
So I can't. I have to open locations, whether I want to or not. I have a goal to scale and take care of my people and give them an opportunity to have a professional career in martial arts. I have to open up more locations to do.
And let me play devil's advocate. Then we do need to get to the topic of the show. But I don't want to do that. I just want to have one location with 600 students in it, or 1,000 students, or 500 students, or whatever it is. I just want to have a mega location. That was a question to you. I was reading
the comment. You said instead of I just want to have one mega location.
Yeah, so you're saying the multiple location thing, right?
Listen, here's the deal. Yeah, I can. So what's the question? Which is better or what's easier?
Well, yeah, I don't want to do the multiple school thing. I think I can do it with one big location, and I can have a lot of employees, and that'll be fine.
Let's just make this easy. If you wanted one location with 500 students, this is important, everybody, and then we'll get to the one thing. Actually, we're out of time, so you're not going to get it. No, I'm going to kid it. If you have a location and you want to say, I just want one major location, let's say 500 students.
Yep. Here's
the deal with that, everyone. You have one location. You have one location here, right? Right here. You have one location. Well, where do you pull students from, right? you pull students from a 1 mile, 3 mile, 5 mile. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I got students that travel 60 miles. Yeah, but not the majority of them. We did too. We do, right? However, you're going to pull from an area to get that 500 in this community, right? All right. Now, let's just assume you have a attrition rate of 3.5%, which is a really good attrition rate.
You make it hard on yourself.
Do you want me to say 5? What do you? I mean, I'm afraid to say something because people won't understand.
I was going to say 4. It's just easy math, but that's
all right. So 4, right? You have a 4% attrition rate. You got to sign up 20 students every single month, just to stay at 500, right? From the same pool radius for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, or however long you want your school. Okay. Now, what if I have a school here and I say, you know what? I want to open up another school here. Half of this area, right? Half of this, I'm overlapping, right? And now I get this other piece of area. So now I have 2 schools with 250 students. Now I could put teams into these schools with 250 students. Well, to maintain 250 students, all I need to do is enroll 10 people a month at each school. So when I think about profitability, I'm not here to get rich off of any one of my locations. I want to provide opportunities for my team members to make a great living. So I need to understand, what is my break-even point in running a location? How much revenue do I need to do? Let's just pretend it costs me, and I'm just using a round number. Some people say that's crazy. Some people say that's not enough. But let's just pretend it costs me $30,000 a month to break even in a school. That's paying payroll, the team's there, rent, 30 grand a month. If I can have a location doing 50,000, well, there's a $20,000 profit plus great pay and growth. Bless you, Tess. And growth for the team there. But to do 50,000 for a team is so much easier than doing 100,000 in one location from the same pool and maintaining that. It's much harder to do 100 grand in one location month after month as it is to do 50,000 in 2 single locations. It's easier to do 50 than 100. Everybody on here would agree, no matter who you are. Is it easier to do 50,000 a month or 100,000 a month? Well, of course, it's easier to do 50. So do 50 twice. Do 50 in 2 as opposed to 101. It's easy. And when you have the formula, open another one and just do 50. And open another one and just do 50 or 30 or 20 or whatever number you have to do. But it's easier to scale that way and provide opportunities for team members. Then as the owner, if you had 10 locations and all you want to do is take 5 grand profit from each location, I'm making that up, that's 50,000 a month. As opposed to you can, but I don't know how you support a family as an owner working every day. And if you only can make 5 grand a month profit for yourself as an owner in one location, but I can make 5 grand profit in one location times 10. You follow me on just the numbers? So it's just easier when you start moving your demographic. It's easier to have schools with smaller numbers than one school with huge numbers. You want to add something to that there, Sneezy?
No, that makes sense.
Thanks, Cass. You seem rushed all of a sudden.
No, I'm not rushed. I was on mute because the dogs are out of reach right now and they were getting into a little bit. So no, and listen, I totally understand that. And and again, I just think sometimes it's perspective, right? And I'll give you an example. I have a client that enrolls, 50 plus students a month in their school. And I'll just leave it at that. And people are going to go like, oh my God, if I can enroll 50 students, that would be amazing. No, I mean, because we only hear certain pieces of information, and what you don't realize is they're losing 53 students a month. So it's irrelevant, right? They're losing 3 students every month. That's 36 less students they'll have at the end of the year, right? So So we need to understand. Well, here's where we're going with this, right? Like, here's what you need to make 2025.
Here's the one thing. Here's the
Right.
one thing you must have, and you're going to jump off unless you really want to hear the layers of the onion. Stay on. But here's the one thing you need to have a record 2025.
Yeah, and nobody, listen, it's not sexy, and nobody wants to do it, and nobody does it consistently. I say nobody as I'm casting in that, right? There are people that do this, and they're the ones that grow. But you have to take a look and a snapshot of where were you in 2023? What did we do for 2024? And where do we go for 25? Well, how do you take that snapshot? As he strolls over to get his stat sheet, you need to understand and track your numbers. And if everybody did this, you don't need a police officer to radar you with the gun to tell you that you were speeding. You can look down at your speedometer and know that you were speeding, unless it's broken or you don't have a speedometer, right? You're not going to run out of gas on the highway or on the road if you know your gas tank is on empty, because you can see it on your dashboard. So we have dashboards for our computers, for our cars, for all the things that we do, for our gaming centers, all the things that we do. But for some reason, we don't keep a dashboard of our key performance indicators, our stats, whatever you want to call them. And this is the problem. And the problem is you don't know where you were, where you are, and where you're going. And nobody wants to hear it, but if all you did was start to track some of the basic KPIs, right? So I had a hip replacement 3 weeks ago, right? And it was a lot of excuses about going to the gym before that. It was miserable. I was in pain all the time. I'm not going to do it. I'll just wait till after. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to the gym, right? So 3 weeks later, I'm going to the gym. And still, because of it's discipline, right? And we have to have discipline. So what do I do? Like, all right. I'm just going to go sit in the bike on the recumbent bike for 15 minutes just to get range of motion. But ask me if I've ever been at the gym for 15 minutes. It just doesn't happen. I'm always there longer, but it's that psychology that got me to go there to do it and then stay longer and lift and do all the things, right? So for you, don't worry about tracking every single thing that happens in your business. Just start with some of the basics, which I'll let Mr. Metzger go through on his one sheet in just a second. But I would encourage you to do this. I would encourage you to get it on a spreadsheet, get it on a one sheet of paper, because it will give you more clarity than you're going to get. And this is for all the CRM companies, right? Than you are looking at it on the CRM, because you can't get the data. You can get the data, but you can't necessarily get the data the way that you want to see it. So this is a great way to use your CRM to extract the data that you need and want, and put it onto a spreadsheet where it's a very clear visual for you, and you can decide where are you going. That becomes your map. And the old Tony Robbins, right, that's your massive action plan. This is your plan. And if you want to know how to go and where to get to, this is what you need.
So listen, so everybody get a pen and a paper. You young kids out there know what I'm talking about, a pen and a paper. You guys know pen and paper, or get your phone, however you want to do it. This show is not a consultation show. It's an informative show. It's a show to hopefully inspire you, to motivate you. It's a show that maybe you want to reach out to MAIA and learn more, maybe, right? But I'm going to give you this, but you got to write this down, and you do not have to do all of this. But I'm going to tell you how detailed we are and why we are able to scale, right? I just got this literally 10 minutes before the show. Why 10 minutes before the show started? Because they just got all the numbers for November. So if you look, it has the months across the top, right? January, February, March, and December over here is blank because we didn't get December yet. So we got November. But I'm going to tell you the stats that we look at and analyze, and you should write these things down to create your own stat sheet, or call MAIA, see if you think we can help you grow your school in 2025. And you're going to have access to all this stuff and a personal consultant to help you. But here's what we have. So for each location, here it is. Every month, monthly billing. I need to know, for example, how much was the monthly billing every month. So November, there's a line, how much was monthly billing? Then the next line is, what is the difference from 2023 in that billing? What's the difference? So, you know, if I look at the schools, I know if the billing was down, was up, whatever it was, right? From 2023 for that specific month. Next, average quarterly revenue. So for each 3 months right here, it gives me the average quarterly revenue. How much did we do in a quarter? Now, why is that important? I want to know in a quarter, are we going up? Are we going down? Are there quarters that are harder than others? And if so, why? Is there a trend there? What do we got to do? And there is. It's called April, like June, July, August, typically revenue-wise, was a down quarter because it's the middle of summer, unless you're doing summer camps or something. So I needed to, when I saw that trend, we needed to figure out what are we going to do in those quarters to generate that. And now Tassoul will tell you that's probably our second highest quarter of the year because we recognize it by looking at it. So average quarterly revenue. The next line I get, how many new students? New students. Each month I see it. The next line, upgrades. How many upgrades each month were there? The next line, if I'm going too fast, this is recorded. You can go back if you really want to do the work that other people aren't willing to do and write these down and then decide which stats you want to try to keep. Don't try to do it all. I mean, you could, but don't overwhelm yourself. The next line is renewals. Well, how many renewals did we do? Some of you don't do renewals. Some of you are automatic. Some of you just do month to month, right? So that's irrelevant. The next line, what is our active count? Each month, what is the active count? So I could see it. Is it going up? Is it going down? What's it doing? The next line, how many students lost each month? How many students did we lose each month? And I can look at that. The next line, student value. Well, based on the number of students that we have training and the gross revenue that we did, what is the average value per student that's training did that school generate with that many students? So if you have 100 students and you did $20,000 that month, even if it's from down payments or people coming in, it tells me that with 200 students in your school, you're able to generate $20,000, which is an average of $200 per student based on everything that's happening because you have 200 students. So $200 student value in that example. The next line, attrition. What is the attrition rate that month? So that is one school, and I have that for all schools, right?
I don't know. Gross revenue is also on there per month. I don't know if that was said or not, but I think you start with billing.
Oh, gross revenue is at the top. Sorry. Yep. Gross revenue is at the top, then billing. So yeah, gross revenue is across the top. So what's the gross, then the monthly billing, and then the total difference, not the billing difference. The monthly difference is how much different of our gross revenue was from that month from last year, from 2023, not the billing. So yes, the difference from last year when I said monthly difference. Now, as we go across at the end over here, right over here. So these are the months, right? And then at the end, here's December, it's blank, but over here, I have the total gross for the year for that each school, the total billing for the year for each school, the total difference from 2023. What's the total difference? How much are we up or how much are we down from last year? The average monthly year to date, what is the average monthly gross of that school? I have that. Total new students that we enrolled, total upgrades that we got, total renewals that we got, our average active student count for the year, what the average is. What is the average students lost per month? What's the average for the whole year? What is the average student value? And what is the attrition year to date? The average attrition rate monthly year to date. I have all that at a glance. Now they print these sheets out for me. So I get this. This is the other schools, right? The reason why this is black here is because we just opened a new school here. So this school just hasn't been open. This school opened in April. Right at the end of April, they opened. So that's why this is black. It wasn't open yet. But then I get this sheet with it. This sheet has every school. And for November, because it's November, I get this every month. But this is November, starting from 2011, November of 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, it goes all the way back. So I can see, how did we do in November for the last 13 years? And where are we and how far have we come in the month of November for every location, since 2011? Why 2011? Because like a lot of you, I was not keeping these stats well enough, or keeping them prior to 2011. I was keeping stats, but they were stats done. But now we've been keeping it to keep it and monitor it and watch growth and all that kind of stuff since 2011. When you know these numbers, it is much easier to find your weaknesses, to find the holes in your business on traffic stats, whether it's enrollments, upgrades, renewals, whatever it is, as well as financial stats, right? And grow. Now, beyond this, we have another sheet that can break down for me, well, how did we gross that? How much was retail? How much was down payments? How much were paid in fulls? How much was billing? How much was special events? How much was, and then we break it down even finer. But these are my one sheet at a glance. And when I see that there's a big hole, then I dive in deeper to find out, where is that hole exactly? What happened? That is the one thing you need to do and have to scale your business. And like he said, it's not sexy. It's not exciting. Everyone wants the golden nugget. That is the golden nugget. But that's not what people want to do, which is why if you do it, you're going to be more successful than your competitors and your other fellow business owners in any industry.
Yep.
Because you got to know these numbers.
And it takes, and at the end of the day, it takes discipline, right? But that discipline is going to, you hear this all the time, right? Do you want to have the pain of regret, right? Or the pain of discipline? And the pain of regret always seems to be worse than the pain of discipline, right? So some really good stuff there, and it may seem overwhelming. And look, confession, I'll tell you, and Metzger's heard me say this before, I hate tracking numbers, hate it. I love analyzing the data. And so if you're that type of person, find someone to be able to record, show them how to do this, and that you can hold accountable to do the numbers for you as far as the data entry and the input, because then it gets to be fun. Then you can start to read these things, and there's a whole lot that you can do, right? And when you can start cross-referencing numbers and do all the things, and I think your eyes will be open wide.
By the way, just before you go too much further on that, you just said something. I hate tracking the numbers, but I love analyzing the data. I hate doing the numbers. Well, when you have one location, you don't have a lot of choice. When you have one location, you're doing a lot of things you don't like to do because you can't afford to provide career opportunities for a team. Specifically, who gathers the data and puts it together? Well, Miss Stephanie Connor, amongst 20 other things that she does. But when did you put that on my desk, the numbers for the schools? This morning, right? By the way, here's the one who makes it all possible. There you go. How long have you been working for us?
20 years.
20 years. 20 years. That's what inspires me, right? Keeping Miss Connor here for 20 years inspires me, right? What inspires me is providing career opportunities in an art that we love, in an industry that we love. So as we round out this year, let me inspire you all to let you know it is possible. It is possible. And I hope that says something about me and Mr. Silverman when you hear that she's been with us 20 years. Michael Perry's been with us 25 years. Stephen Holliday's been with us 29 years. I think Peterman's been with us 30 years. I'd like to think that we're pretty good leaders, or let me say this. Miss Connor, am I a good leader? Miss Connor? Thank you, Miss Connor. Thank you, Miss Connor.
Miss Connor, can you give us the 3 things that you don't like most? No, I'm just teasing.
My point is what we do try to do, and no one can deny it. We try to take care of our people. When you run one location and you're an owner operator, your number one job is take care of your students and make an impact on your students. When you do that year after year, you want to go further. Well, how can I make even a bigger impact? How do I take that student now? who loves martial arts and impact them in ways that they never knew was possible by providing them a career in martial arts where they can have a family, support a family, buy a home, travel, have vacations, health insurance, retirement plans, all of that stuff. That's what we love doing, right? So it's just an evolution. And I don't understand. I do understand. I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to do that. I do understand why you think you may not want to do that because of, oh, it's a hassle. It's this. By the way, somebody said that employees are a hassle. Are you a hassle, Connor?
Am I a hassle, sir?
No, Connor.
That's a different show.
Yeah, stay tuned. My point is
The perils of the employees.
it's, what else can I say? Here's what I want to say to you guys. We know how to help you guys. Reach out to MAIA. If you don't like it, quit the program. At least find out what we can do to help you. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. But I inspire you to think bigger. Do not put a cap on your thinking.
Right.
Go out there and know that anything and everything's possible. It just is. It's not easy, especially if you're going to try to do it on your own. It is not easy.
And
Nah.
maybe this will inspire some of you. A couple things, two things. Number one, this will not inspire you. But for a lot of you that have
Let's end on that note.
a lot of you that have a CRM, hold on.
90% of you will fail before the end of next year.
Yeah, that's right. Let me no. You can go back in your CRM and you can go back and get the data, and then you can go back and enter it, right? And quick story about that. I used to do that with my bank statements, by the way, for taxes. I used to go in January, February. I'd take all my bank statements from the previous year. I'd print them off and be like, all right. I sit down on the computer on QuickBooks. I'd be like, okay, Century Martial Arts supplies. And then I go to the next line item. And it got to the point where it took me about 30 minutes per bank statement. Then I got to 2 locations, and then I'm like, I can't sit down and do this. The problem with that is you're never going to be able to change things. I was going back to the entire year and just getting things documented. Then I got to look and say, okay, here's where we ended. And the whole idea of this surprised, well, was it surprisingly good or surprisingly bad? This is why it's important to understand your numbers and do your numbers on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So you can review them, you can make adjustments, you can modify if you need to, and you can see everything in front of you, right? That I think that's the important thing, right? And of course, now that I dwelled on that, and I was going to give you the thing that I thought would excite everybody, that has completely slipped my mind because of my ADD. So I will go and get some ADD pills and be able to take those so I can stay focused.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And here he is. Another one. Michael Perry. Perry, how long have you been working here?
January will be 25 years.
January will be 25 years.
January 3rd.
That's crazy.
January 3rd. Wow. Good for you, Perry.
That's crazy.
Anyway, it's possible. You need a team, you need a vision, and you need to get people on board with your vision, and don't be selfish. Take care of your people as much as you want to take care of yourself. So with that, guys, it's been awesome. Have a phenomenal holiday. We're going to come back in January at some point, because here's another thing. Last thing. Here's another thing that we do as a company. Because we want our teams to spend time with their family for the holidays. Our last day of working is the 21st.
Tomorrow, right?
Is tomorrow for Perry. Forever, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Forever.
right.
So he won't make it to 25 years. I thought I'd just let him know now.
Sorry.
What is it, the 21st?
Yeah, 20th.
21st is the last day that we will be open. We don't open again until January 6th. January 6th. And we tell all of our families and students ahead of time. This is the one time a year our instructors, our people work so hard to bring you guys martial arts instruction, and they work every day. This is the one time a year we want them to spend time with their families and enjoy. And we close. We close from the 21st till January 6th. By the way, our salaried employees, they get paid full salary over that time. There's no dip in their pay or anything. That's taking care of your people. And that's what I love. That's why I'm not on a gerbil wheel. That's why I'm not depressed that I got to start all over again next year. I'm excited about next year. I'm excited about the growth that we have planned and the vision that we have and the opportunities we're going to create. So go enjoy your holidays. We're here. MAIA's here till the 21st. If you want to reach out, if you have questions, we'd love to help you. But we appreciate you guys. And Miss Dewey says, can our next event, CMA Day, be on a cruise ship? I love you guys, but I don't love you that much.
We can't be trapped on a boat with all y'all. It's just teasing.
It's been talked about. We'll see what the future holds, Miss Julie. Anyway, thank you guys, Mr. Fry. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's have a record 2025. We'll talk.
Appreciate everybody. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.